As hunters, sportsmen, and sportswomen, we like knowing where our food comes from. Whether you buy it from the grocery store or get it on your own, we are all part of the circle of life. This is a behind-the-scenes look at how we butcher an elk. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up. It's something new for us. Drop any questions you have below in the comments. And shout out to our buddy Drew for making this all happen and letting us use his dope facility. Today's the day, do-it-yourself butchering. I thought I was pretty good at butchering, butchered a lot of elk. I have my own setup. Then I met Drew, better at everything than me. And it's guys, Drew Howerton, check him out. Look at this uniform. Where's the company that you buy these tools from?
Micklich in Spokane.
Okay, they're in Spokane.
Yep.
We've already went through this, but check out this dope setup. He's got his 90%er.
This is the everyday use that most of the time. This is just for longer cuts, cutting steaks, roasts, stuff like that. Meat hook, right there on the hip, knife sharpener, balling out. Pretty cool. Now, let's show you the DIY meat locker, and we're just gonna give you a quick MTV Cribs tour of this is the best amateur setup I've ever seen. Drew, you built this? Yep.
I've built one before. It looks like you did a similar thing that we did. COOLBOT, we're gonna leave a link in the video description for COOLBOT because you gotta have one. What's the BTUs on your air conditioning?
I think that one's 18,000.
That's it. Ours was 10.
It was overkill for that size, but.
Well, and then you're a commercial electrician, Howerton Construction. Look them up if you're in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area.
That's two different cooler kits. The silver one a guy had, and he wanted it gone, so I said, well, I'll haul it off for you. I just saw that one laying in a HVAC company's lot and said, hey, what are you doing with that? They said nothing. I said, I'll take it.
Well, let's get in here. So do you have a drain in here?
No.
Okay. That's one thing we had in ours was a drain, which was pretty handy. But we got several bulls in here hanging right now. He's his buddy Drew's and a couple of mine. The COOLBOT overrides 34 to 38, so the COOLBOT just doesn't let the AC turn off. Hooks, it's super simple, guys. Dehumidifier would be good too if you're gonna hang your meat longer. Let's go check out some of his other toys.
This is just your meat saw, bandsaw. You don't really need one. You can use a handsaw. Do all the same work, just a little more effort. Grinder, it's just faster and it'll do more meat than the average one, but the Cabela's ones work great too. That's what I used to use until I got this. And then this here, without the barrel on it, you can't even tell what it is, so let's throw it on there. Meat stuffer, sausage stuffer. Those ones are Cabela's are kind of a pain in the ass, so I ended up getting this, but they work just fine. And then that's just a sausage mixer and then a slicer sitting on top.
And how'd you get so way into meat?
If you've ever killed something and took it into a butcher, it's expensive as hell to have it done. So I started looking into getting a small Cabela's grinder and stuffer and all that. And by the time I added up the cost to get into butchering your own stuff, I figured it would pay for itself within the first couple, 3, 4 deer I did. It was just an investment, and then it's just progressed over the years. It's like, well, if I invest in a bigger this and a faster that, then I can get this stuff done quicker and have more time to do other shit.
So basically what he's saying, guys, is he didn't start here.
No.
He started somewhere else and worked his way to all this cool gear.
Exactly.
Toys, man. We're going to get to play with some toys today, so.
How much does this cost?
How long did you age this baby for, Dan?
2 weeks.
Why do you go 2 weeks?
You know, the longer I've aged them, it seems like the more tender the meat's turned out, just for me. I had a setup in Idaho at my cabin. P.S. don't have the cabin anymore. We sold it. That's a whole nother video. But at that, we were killing so many bulls in Idaho. Just like Drew, we just got frustrated with the prices of, I mean, I respect a butcher right by your Johnson. I respect the butcher and what they can do. You kill a couple bulls and then your dad kills a bull. You got 3 bulls down. You go to the butcher, that's $2,000, somewhere around there. We just eventually were like, you know, let's just pour some concrete, build a little bunkhouse at the cabin, put the COOLBOT in, and once we started doing that, my wife actually was like, hey, hang that meat a little longer. Hey, hang that meat a little longer. We started listening, and what's that term? It's like kind of anecdotal. It's kind of like just our opinion after trying it a few times. It was like, age it for 5 days, age it for a week, age it for 10 days. And then I think one time I just couldn't get to it till like 2 weeks, and we all agreed that was the best meat we've ever had. In my opinion, you could even go longer, but generally 10 to 14 days is my sweet spot. For this first bull, I'm gonna basically just keep the back straps for steak, and then I'm gonna basically grind everything into burger. And the only reason I'm not really huge into roasts, some people are. I've made the mistake of like making too many roasts and then halfway through the year like having to put those roasts back in the grinder, and just because we ran out of like taco meat or fajitas, a ton of like spaghetti squash like with meat sauce. For ease of cooking and stuff like that, I just kind of listen to my boss, which is Mrs. ElkShape, and she said for this first bull, just go back straps, tenderloins, and then the rest is gonna be burger. We do eat tacos at least once a week, and I don't eat a ton of steak stuff. That's just me. I'm gonna share some of my meat this year with my mom and my sisters and my dad. Jake and I are gonna try to help get my dad a bull in October with the rifle, and then Jake and Tim also, if they don't get an elk, I'll give them some meat. I did that last year. Jake helped me pack out 2 bulls. I owe him a lot of meat, in my opinion. I'm gonna give him quite a bit because of his help, and that's just what you do. And you packed out 2 bulls.
When you cut your back strap out and you clean it all up, this is towards the head of the elk and this is towards the ass of the elk. So when you start cutting your steaks, if you want to know exactly what cut you're eating and you want to label it, you're going to start out with like chuck steaks or chuck eyes, depending on where you cut your back strap off. And then you're going to work into your rib eyes, which are about this whole section here. And then from there back, you've got your New York strips or your loin steaks.
So how's our time lapse doing right there?
I think it's great. I can still see Jake in the picture. You probably just have one little shifty spot that you'll have to edit.
So right now I'm on the New Yorks. I'm at the back end of mine.
There.
It's like kind of like a wall tip by shooting fabric, right? So I have my cot in that wall tip. So in the morning, like I get up and I turn.
Based on your family size, that's how many steaks I'm putting in these. We're gonna vacuum seal them, and then I'm gonna stamp them. I have this new stamp system that I'm working, it's called Wild Meat Gear, and you can just dink, stamp, and it says the year, the cut, the animal, or the species. So it'll be elk burger or elk backstrap 22. And then I'll probably with the Sharpie write which state. That way we can kind of decide which one tastes the best.
And these are vacuum seal bags.
Yep.
Yep.
We're there.
Makes a vacuum, so it actually puffs it up.
Yeah.
And then when it lets the air back in, everything collapses. So right now it's sealing. You think it's sealing air inside it, but it's not, because all the air is sucked out. So then when it lets the air back in, everything just collapses on itself.
How much does this cost?
That was just under $3,000.
Damn, that's legit.
This is so much better than what I have.
Along your front shoulder. Okay. Just cut right down it. All the way from one side to the other. He wasn't a big bull, but I got 350 pounds of meat off of him.
So are you on the inside of the T of the scap? Yeah.
One side or the other. I don't know which one you call the inside.
Yeah, this one right here. So you just went like this.
Yep. Okay, all the way down to the end of the scap. Right there. And then you just
big tendon.
fillet along the top of the scapula. This is when it starts to get handy to have it.
You're gonna be faster because of it.
You even got to be careful with this meat hook because this piece is so tender. So you get all the way to the edge of the scapula. Just like that. Cut that off. I'll lay that right there. Yeah, just cut right up here. It makes like a triangle. This piece is the one we want. So all this will rip off. Skin this outer part off real quick. And then this piece.
You want that out of there?
Yeah.
That's just going to burger?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all burger. Square this up.
Yeah.
Square this up. And then there's one trick to this. There's a tendon. See that tendon in the middle of that?
Yeah.
It runs right down the middle of this whole thing. So you have to
Yeah.
butterfly that tendon out.
Okay, how do you do that?
And then you'll want to get all this silver skin off too. Then you start on the end where you can really see the tendon. Let's get our bigger breaks off. Huh? You just kind of feel along it. That one's good. Now we got to get the tendon off of this half.
Exactly.
These you would just cut like this, like so that would be a steak. I'll just cut them.
Slice them and dice them, baby.
That's
Wow.
Like, that's one portion for you right there.
Yeah.
That's a breakfast.
It is.
It's a
That's a half of breakfast, actually.
And those
with
are
me
flat
at
iron
Salt Lake.
steaks. Arguably the most tender cut on your elk. Comes right off the front shoulder.
Drew ate like this.
This is your round tip roast, right above the knee. But this piece that sits right above it, I just separated it. That's your top sirloin right there. I'll clean this up and then cut those across the grain. And that's maybe not the most flavorful steak of the elk, but it's the or second most tender cut. Top sirloin.
And we haven't talked about this a lot today, about like roasts. You guys aren't running many roasts, but this would be a good. This is a really good.
I
roast if you
do
want.
a lot of roasts, but what I end up making out of them is jerkies. I'll clean this end up and this end up, and then this whole thing will get froze. And when I'm ready to make jerky, I'll partially thaw it and run it through a meat slicer, and you end up with jerky slabs like this big, which
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of.
I like that.
This round tip roast all cleaned up, run through a slicer like this, and so you end up with a bunch of pieces of jerky that look just like that.
Looks awesome.
What the top sirloin looks like after you get it all cleaned up. And then I just take and slice steaks like this, or you could Traeger this whole thing just like it is, like 135, 140 degrees in the middle. Be pretty damn good that way too.
Yeah, so you basically just trimmed off all the fat,
All the silver skin,
Cut
squared
it
it
off
up,
pretty.
make it look nice, done deal.
and this comes off the rear quarter.
Yep, that's the top piece of the hind quarter.
Yeah.
Probably for the opener, the 15th opener.
This is my meat, not yours. I don't want to do a bunch of fat.
Are you giving me meat advice again?
Yeah, so you're rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna add fat on the first round, and then that way when you
Cut it up or break it up.
when you grind it the second time, it that camera's so close to my face. I don't know. We're gonna add fat the first round. This is this pork fat or beef fat?
Beef.
Beef fat. We'll grind it twice so it mixes in better. I would say this is like 10% tops. Done a lot of times without fat and it's fine, but I would say this will probably make it a little bit better, and it sticks together for making burgers, which is what we do. We do a ton of burgers, probably twice a week. We love burgers. And then
Grind it twice, make it nice.
grind it twice, make it nice. I like that. That's what we're gonna do. So let's do that.
You gotta bring back all those old sayings you used to have. You know when you're in the gym and you had like a million different sayings?
Yeah.
You gotta bring those back.
Okay. In the butchering world, Drew totally leveled up on his butchering game. I'm so impressed. And he's a blue collar guy. It's not like daddy gave him this money. Like, he's earned the money over time and just built it over time. And I love that. He's really into good, clean eating, and so are we. It's just fun to be a part of your own process. Highly recommend you start somewhere. And that for me would be just make yourself a cooler so you can hang your own meat. That'd be the first place to start.
It is sharp.
Yeah. And it's pretty affordable for on the hunting side of stuff. We're gonna do a little bit more content at Buck Knifes HQ. We work with Buck Knifes, and we've been invited to kind of come over there, maybe work on just kind of more behind the scenes. It's cool. I love knife making, and I love that company. So comment below if you guys want to see some more behind the scenes at Buck Knifes, how stuff's made.
Okay. Tighten both nuts. Shove a sack on. There's a pedal right over here I'm gonna hit with my foot. You hold it down. We're getting the air out first. When you seal this, you wanna get the air out and you wanna give it a few twists. But if you get it really tight, when you freeze it in the freezer, water expands. You're gonna bleed out your package and get frozen blood all over your freezer. So you want a couple twists in it, but you want it kind of loose like this. And then that'll be minimal blood, but still no air. Then you hand it over to the next guy and he just shoves it in the tape machine and that's it.
Bam.
Done deal.
You can slice it.
That's it.
Check out this. We got a chest freezer full of just burger. Pretty cool. We got a downstairs freezer full of more burger and steaks, and an upstairs freezer, and we have another freezer right there. 2 bulls butchered and processed today. I left my house at 7 a.m. I got home at 7 p.m. The only reason I love this is the labor of love. I like to trim the meat myself. I like to make the cuts myself. I like to add just a little beef fat myself, source the beef fat. I'm not as fast as a normal butcher, but over at Drew's it's super handy having that pro setup. And I think you should consider processing your own meat, or at least hanging your meat at your own place and just start the process. You don't have to buy everything all at once. There's nothing more rewarding at the dinner table watching your family eat the animal that you worked your butt off year round to harvest, and that you did the labor of love and processed it yourself. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Appreciate y'all. Tap that sub if you dig our content. We'll catch you on the next one.